Hi, this is Len Edgerly. Welcome to the Kindle Chronicles podcast. Today is April 2nd, 2021, and I'm speaking to you from just south of Richmond, Virginia. I think the town is Chester. We are in a Marriott Courtyard hotel. That's become the place that we stay on both the drive down to Florida and now the drive back to Cambridge. We've been on the road for 3 days, and tomorrow we will get as far as Princeton, New Jersey, and then on into Cambridge on Sunday, Easter Sunday. I have the episode this week is about our stay in Sanibel. It comes in two parts. I recorded a conversation with Darlene and her sister Deb on March 28th when we were all still at Sanibel. We were staying at the house on Sandcastle Road that we rented the past 2 months. It's a beautiful house on a golf course, the Dunes Golf and Tennis Club. And you'll hear mention of the broccoli tree. That's a tree that was across the pond that we just loved watching from the lanai because there are two crocodiles in it, and they like to hang out next to a tree that looked very much like a spear of broccoli just rising up from the golf course. Really a pretty tree. And you'll also hear some mention of red tide. That's something that was an issue on Sanibel earlier in our stay, I think mainly in December. It's some kind of plant life that spreads in a bloom in the ocean, and it kills fish. So for a couple of weeks there were dead fish along the beaches. Very unpleasant. The smell of the fish was bad. And then the plant life itself had a very heavy odor that some people had real bad health reactions to, kind of like having the flu. It cleared up, and that was just something that we hope that we don't see too much of on our return trips to Sanibel. The 3 Mile Causeway is mentioned, and that's the connection between Sanibel and the mainland at Fort Myers. The next segment after that, you'll hear Darlene and me talking here at the hotel out in the courtyard. A little chilly, but it was nice to be out there in the sun. There's a reference to Claire. That's our Yorkie Claire, who passed more than a year ago. we more 90% of the time we call Sophie by her real name, but every once in a while, especially at the end of a long drive, she gets called Claire, and you'll hear that in the second section. Tess is what we call our Tesla Model 3, and superchargers are places where you can charge up very quickly, and there are thousands of them across the country, so it's very easy to find them wherever we're traveling during the day. And in fact, the Tesla itself, if I put in our destination in Princeton tomorrow, it will pick a supercharger halfway for us to stop, and it'll say how long we have to charge up in order to make the whole trip. They charge at a rate of about 600 miles of range an hour, and by comparison, the charger that I have at our home will charge up for about 30 or 40 miles an hour. So you can charge up overnight, and it's perfectly fine. But if you're on the road, 10 or 20 minutes of charging at one of these super fast chargers will get you back on the road very reasonably. You'll hear a little bit of Sophie, I think, halfway through the second episode. So I will play these for you now. I'll put a bumper in between them, and at the end I'll tell you about next week's show. Today is March 28th, Sunday, and we're at the dining room table here on Sandcastle Road. The idea is to just share some observations, or 10 or 15 minutes, and then Darlene and I are going to finish up the show as we drive up to Cambridge. So, first question. If you were going to take one memory about what our time in Sanibel has been like, what would the memory be? Deb, you go first.
Well, I think this year has been a real unique opportunity with the COVID because we couldn't go places. It really provided us an opportunity to do a lot of biking and do a lot of walking. And after we got into that, we really enjoyed that. And then also that was really a way to be able to stumble onto the wildlife and see them in their natural habitat. So that I think the the COVID really gave us a unique perspective that we wouldn't have had if we had been able to just go out and eat whenever we wanted to and everything. So that would be my thought.
Darlene?
I agree.
Mm-hmm. You say more about that?
No, I mean, you did a wonderful job saying that, Deb. But it's true. I mean, I mean, at first it was so hard and it was so scary because we were so nervous, anytime we saw a person 10 feet away or whatever. But then, I mean, looking back on it now, I think that it really made our trip really special. That we were just more centered in on what we could do and see in nature, and we weren't at all tempted to be in stores or visiting with other people or having zillions of friends down or doing anything else. And it made for a really nice time. And the three of us got on really well together. That was really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that was surprising.
We can all admit now, how would this work?
It's true. No one ever thought it would work this smoothly.
I know.
Have traveled. We should say we've traveled together. We've been to Africa together. We've been to Ecuador together. We're good travelers together. But this went just smooth as silk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we all established our rhythms and we learned, what was important and supported each other. I think my memory is related to that because I'm just never going to forget the long swims that I had in the ocean. And you guys were always walking alongside me. And I had that little orange bubble that followed me along so that you could see me. And,
right.
That was just... it's hard to put it in words how wonderful that was. I mean, it was good exercise for sure, but there's just something about swimming in the ocean. And then biking back, because, most places, we weren't on the water at any place. So you have a nice bike ride back after the ocean swim.
Very short bike ride.
Yeah, short bike ride.
But still, that's good.
Now, you know more about the shells, which is like the big ticket item here on the island. What was your experience collecting shells?
I mean, it just was like a treasure hunt. And it was really fun because you never knew what you were going to find. And then we got, so there were certain shells, like Deb really liked these shells called the olive, which is this kind of long rolled up one, and the tulip one. And so I got good at spotting those for her, and I really liked the lightning whelk. And I don't know. It was just so much fun because you just never knew when you were going to find one, and they weren't really huge. We didn't. Charles today, when he was talking about the lightning whelks being like almost a foot long or something. We didn't see anything anywhere near anything like that, but it was just it never got old looking for shells.
What did you like the olive ones? What were they like?
Well, they're almost like a pencil. They're kind of like rolled. Like if you look at the end, they look kind of like a cinnamon roll. They're rolled around, and they're the shiniest shell. They have a natural shine to them. So I don't know. They kind of intrigued me.
Did you collect enough of them so that when you go back, you're going to be making some art out of them?
No.
What are you going to do with the ones you collected?
I don't know. I think it's probably a long-term project. Next year we'll collect some more.
Sure,
yeah.
Absolutely. We did fall into after a storm or something, this like massive amount of sea urchins, which are like these prickly things. And so nobody really knew what to do with them. It wasn't like you would pick it up and go, oh, a seashell. And so we collected a lot of them and we let them dry, and we went through the whole process of getting the prickly things off them and cleaning them, and we even had to coat them in Mod Podge because they're so fragile after they dried. And anyway, I've got like a shoebox full of those. I have a huge amount of them, not huge sizes, and I'm hoping to make to fill the base of a lamp or two with them. So that was really fun, and I don't think I'll ever do that again. It's a lot of work. And you found some sand dollars.
Oh.
That somebody else had
Well,
left.
we found some sand dollars, that somebody else had found and left on the beach. I'm sure they found them on a different island.
Yeah.
Yeah, Deb's been doing research, and there's another island we can go to that has like amazing sand dollars and different shells and stuff, and we're going to try to go.
That's the
next
one
year.
that we have to take a boat to get to?
Yeah, it's a state park.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun next year. We've already got lots of things planned for next year.
That's good. We got our rental set up. How about wildlife? What were some of the highlights of the
That
wildlife?
was the best thing of everything. I mean, I've always been terrified of alligators and crocodiles. And who knew, we'd have an alligator these last 2 months sitting out under a tree that looked like a piece of broccoli. And that we would have our binoculars out every morning to see if he was there and what he was doing. And, it was just absolutely fascinating and felt really safe. And then we've had several other sightings of alligators.
Well, yeah, and we saw those little baby alligators.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
And we saw those one last week in the mud pond, kind of that we were riding by Rabbit Road.
Oh, yeah.
And there was 2 big alligators in
pond.
a pond. And yeah, we saw that one cross the street. In the golf
Yeah,
course.
and I actually got off my bike to pursue it.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that was
So
really
we've
scary.
had a change of heart. We aren't as scared as we used to be.
Well, you also had a change of heart about the ducks.
Oh, we had these lovely set of ducks. I say set, it was a couple. And they came and they swam in the swimming pool, and it was so cute. And I videoed them, and it was so funny until they started coming every day and then pooping around the pool and pooping in the pool. And now, I run out and scream at them like a witch woman whenever one of them comes near my pool.
They fly off confused. They say, "Hey, lady, you used to be really friendly to us."
I know, it's like my spa time has been interrupted by this witch who keeps, shoving us away. And the osprey, from the very beginning, there was a huge bird, an osprey, that was at the end of the lane. There was
first place.
On our first place, that tree.
Up in a high tree.
Yeah, you were the one that
Yeah.
really noticed it.
Well, it's been interesting watching them, and they're all over the island, and they nest really high. They like to be up in the very top of the tallest trees, and we've just enjoyed seeing them.
And we
Well,
saw
and-
some babies at Ding Darling, didn't we?
We think we did.
Chicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been watching that whole process, and we have different places. They have put up these really high platforms for them to be on around the island, and so we bike
To
around
nest.
to nest, and so we know our different spots, and we bike around every day and check on them and see what they're doing. So and then we have a wonderful woodpecker that's out our window. That's a different kind of woodpecker. I think he's a red belly woodpecker.
Oh, the little one.
Yeah, the little one. But then there's a big one.
Pileated?
Pileated. And we see him on treated poles,
Oh, yeah.
electric poles. And he's very noisy. He sounds like a jackhammer. And, of course, all the birds. I mean, there's all these, we call them the white birds. There's the ibis, the egrets, the herons. There are all these different white birds. And, of course, the beautiful gray heron. I mean, and then the snake bird. I mean, it just goes on and on. So many cool things to see.
You guys did a lot of biking and exercise. What were the totals on that?
Well, last week we biked 76 miles, and
In
we
1 week.
walked 21 miles
In 1 week?
in 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah. We always would get up really early and walk as soon as the sun would come up before Deb had to go to work. And usually she had to go to work at like 9:30. And so we had got some of that in then. And then when she would get off work, which could be any time from 3 to 5 in the afternoon, then we would jump on our bikes and go. And it just was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very flat here. It's not like it's hard work to bike. And we just have normal bikes. We don't have any of those fancy bikes. So, it does... It's not one of those bikes that you can go 50 miles in a day easily. Just a normal bike. So these are big numbers for us. They took time.
We stayed in 3 different places. We looked at a number of houses because maybe we'll have a chance to buy something here. If you could drop a house down in the perfect place on the island, where would it be and what would the house be like?
Well, I can answer that. It would be this house.
The one we're in.
In the house we're in right now, it would be this house. And ideally, it would be right on the ocean.
Oh, this house on the ocean.
Yeah.
Instead of on the golf course.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be mine.
Yeah, although it's been nice here on the golf course, but it would really be nice to be able to see the ocean. That would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
The red tide could be an issue.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things could be an issue.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. But I'm just saying, I mean, here I was thinking of all the things, like we've walked across the golf course, there's been ducks, we've seen the alligator,
Turtles.
We've seen that tortoise walk across there, we've seen the blue heron walk across there, we've seen all the different birds. I mean, we've seen the coyote one. We saw the silhouette of the coyote in the morning one time.
Yeah.
And I saw a bobcat in the area, and I'm sure they walk across the golf course too. We just didn't see them. But the thing is, you wouldn't see any of that stuff on the ocean. But we would see the dolphins, and we would see the sunrise. And, I just think that would be really interesting.
Well, we'll have a chance to try that out in December because we're going to be on the ocean for that first month, and that's going to give a reference point. I tend to think that a house away from the coast is going to be more affordable, and because the beaches are so close to everywhere on the island, you don't really give up that much, except the views. I mean, there's nothing like looking out a window.
But this is really nice.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a fabulous
view.
The
pond.
lake is beautiful.
Yeah.
And the sunset on it. Oh, man.
It's tough to beat this, that's for sure.
Well, and the other thing that we're finding out about this is just a real community.
Yeah.
There's this
The houses around
2.6 mile circle called Sandcastle Road that goes around the golf course, and there's a few little streets off it and stuff. And that's what we walk and bike, and we visit people because they're out with their dogs, and they see us all the time, and we see them. And if it wasn't COVID, we'd be, spending a lot more time with them. But I'm not sure you would get that on the
Plus,
ocean.
it's really easy access to the causeway. I think that's a big advantage.
Yeah.
And we can get to any of the stores or restaurants in the area. So it's pretty centrally located. And if you're way down the island toward the west in March, you could spend 45 minutes
An hour,
going from one end of the island on the other on Periwinkle just because of the traffic.
Yes, and the other thing about this place is there's really great landscaping. Like, people put a lot of love into their homes and their yards.
Flowering
and
bushes.
Yeah, bougainvillea bushes, and there'll be arches over your garage, and I mean, it's hibiscus. Oh, it's just amazing. And I personally love driving by or riding by on my bike and looking at it.
Well, who knows? I may take up some more lessons with Mike, the golf pro, if we ever had a house here. And I couldn't watch all these golfers looking like they're having so much fun and not getting out there myself. But my initial trial was mercifully ended before I took up too much time.
I bet you that over 50% of the people who live around that golf course are not golfers.
Yeah, I think that's probably right.
And I would think it'd be just great if we were in that 50%.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned.
There's so much to do.
Thank you. It's been wonderful traveling with you two.
Yeah.
Best world travelers.
You too.
You too, Lynn.
Today is Friday, Podcast Mountain Day, April 2nd, 2021. We are near Richmond, Virginia. We're at the Courtyard, Richmond, Chester, and we're out in the courtyard. There's actually a courtyard here, which does Claire approve of the courtyard?
Oh my God, she loves it.
What does she like about it?
He put us in the basement, so hopefully nobody else will be down here, and it walks out into a beautiful courtyard where there's only one way that she can get out, and she is just running around checking it all out. And it's still spring. They haven't really cleaned it or gotten it ready. There's no fresh mulch, so everything is probably better for her, and she's having a wonderful time.
Wow. And we just go right out our room through the picture window door.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just fabulous. And there's no sound. She's not going to be barking.
That's right.
We are not going to have another call from the management saying we have a noise ordinance.
Yeah. It's cold. I've got my sweater on.
Well, but we're in the sun, and because it's got a wall around it. The wall really blocks the wind. It's kind of a windy day.
Yeah, that's nice.
So we're in the sun with no wind, and it's quite nice.
Yeah.
We do have our jackets on. Mm-hmm. It is not Florida.
No, it's in the
miss
40s or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 48.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's wonderful.
Huh.
It's been an easy ride home.
Yeah, we've been on the road 3 days. First night in Jacksonville, second night in Florence, South Carolina. And then we drove through the Carolinas today. We weren't by any big cities, but there was a lot of traffic.
There was always a lot of traffic, and every day it's taken us about an hour longer to get here than we expected to, and partly traffic.
Yeah.
So, but Tesla's good in traffic, so that helps.
You're getting pretty handy with the Navigate on autopilot.
I'm getting a little bit better. I wouldn't.
You don't want to overstate it, huh?
No, I would not call me an ace driver at this point on test, but hey, I'm getting better.
And we'll take her over. I'm sure there's a supercharger nearby here, so we'll get her all charged up for the ride tomorrow, which will take us to the area of Princeton, New Jersey, on the other side of D.C., and we'll probably take the long route around D.C., and then there'll just be one more. So we only have 2 more days of driving.
Right. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sophie hasn't thrown up.
Sophie's been having pills.
Yeah.
So she's doing pretty good.
Huh. Well, what do we remember most about Sanibel?
Oh, gosh. All the birds and the sun and the crocodile. I mean, it was so great.
You said it was magic.
It was totally magical. And I don't think we expected that. We expected to be out of the sun. We expected to be able to stay safe, but that we'd have to really isolate ourselves.
From the COVID.
Wear our masks and all that. But I don't think I didn't realize how much I was going to be able to do and stay away from people. All the biking we did and the walking, and it was just absolutely magical. And just sitting on the lanai looking out at the alligator.
That last place on the golf course.
Oh, it was so beautiful. People going by and the alligator under the broccoli tree. And I mean, it was just amazing. And
so many birds. I mean, I think a lot of birds flew into that golf course just because of the water.
Right.
That was always something to watch in the sky.
Yep. And this little refuge area called Apple Pond was very close to us, and we could go there. That's where we saw the baby alligators.
Oh, yeah, right.
There
were iguana there, too, right?
There was tons of iguanas, tons of birds, but it was amazing to see those little baby alligators that were, like, not even a foot long. So, yeah, it was just such a wonderful time.
I feel like we had a chance to get to know the island through those conversations I had with different people. And then we had Charles LaBeouf come over for your birthday to talk about how he would capture alligators in the
just jump into the pond. What would he capture them and tag them?
Yeah, he was tagging them, but he was like some kind of a reality show figure.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He still hunts python with some friend of his, and he's 85 years old. But you really had a feeling, and he moved down here from Massachusetts, so he's become a Florida native after all the time that he spent down here since he was a young man. He lived at the lighthouse for, I think, 5 years with his wife.
It was amazing, Yeah, we were really lucky to get to spend some time with him. He was a historical figure for the island, that's for sure.
Yeah, because he was one of the town fathers that actually helped the city to incorporate and take hold of its future, because the county wanted to just develop it all.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was good.
Yeah. And we had a wonderful time with Deb. I think we really enjoyed Deb, and I think we didn't drive her too crazy. And she was able to do her work, but we still had lots of time to walk and bike. And I don't think we could have ever imagined it going as well as it did.
Yeah, because that's the longest we've traveled with her to different places, but that's the longest we've actually lived with her under the same roof.
It seemed like everybody had different skills and strengths, and that we were able to, in combining them, it just made the whole process of living there better.
Right.
So, Deb, one of the things that I most admired and had no idea Deb would do was that she was just really good at figuring out the meals and putting on. I mean, she'd get up in the morning and she'd say, "Now, what are we going to have for supper tonight? Now, what do we need to pull out of the freezer? What do we need to do?" And I don't know. And I would like look at her like she was nuts. Like, well, why are you thinking about dinner when it's breakfast? Yeah. It's like, what? Think ahead? And then it would be like 4 or 5 o'clock, and I would just be tired. It'd be the end of the day, and she would say, like, "Okay, let's throw the chicken in the Instant Pot." We got this Instant Pot, and we lived with this Instant Pot.
Yeah.
Every night we made something, vegetables or chicken or something. Anyway.
Fish. She was good at cooking fish.
Really good at cooking fish, and we had a wonderful grill, and so we ate really healthy, and we all did well with our weight, and that would not have happened because my idea of thinking about dinner is thinking about it at about 4 in the afternoon when I'm tired and I hate to cook anyway, and so then I just like open a yogurt or something.
Yeah.
Say, "Want to make macaroni and cheese for yourself? I think I'm just going to have yogurt." And we never eat together. And with Deb, she would set the table every night, and she would set everything out very carefully. Yeah, who knew that because she lives alone. And it just seems so strange that she would do this without ever thinking about it. Anyway, it was just, that was something that really added to our life.
Yeah. Having
her thinking ahead about things. And we just ate very simply. We always had... You and Deb both like a lot of... You have to have a protein. You have to have a chicken or fish or meat.
Yeah, or
red
salad,
meat. And
vegetables.
then I'm more like... I care about the vegetables. So we always had good vegetables, and we'd have rice or something. But it was simple meals. And then we might have a little bowl of ice cream or...
a mochi.
A mochi. Yeah, it was so great. I hope we can keep it up when we get home, but I don't know how I will without Deb because...
Well, we have to set the table every meal. That's a habit. Maybe we should set 3 places, one for her.
It's just that we have to think ahead to figure out what we're going to have that night and to take the appropriate steps, and that's what worries me. But anyway,
we did some nice reading on our Kindles by the pool. I like that. And at the beach. Yeah. It's just so... I forget how nice it is to read in the sunlight with the oasis, that it's just so easy to read. I had a little folding chair I would take to the beach.
Well, and the other thing for me is we've said at the beginning, we don't need a pool. Who needs a pool? And even when we moved in the last 2 months, I bet we were there 2 weeks before I ever thought about getting in the pool. And once you got in the pool, when it got warm, you thought it was just so wonderful.
Yeah.
It was just so amazing. And so I'm convinced that we would never buy a house without a pool. And I would never want to even rent a house without a pool.
And it was handy because there were days I had a cam I would watch at the Island Inn. I could tell how rough the water was. And if it was rough, I would swim in the pool. I mean, I felt like a fish in a bottle swimming back and forth in that little pool as opposed to swimming in the ocean.
You had you had to do it 77 times.
Oh, jeez.
That's what you said.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty good pool. I mean, that's the other thing.
And the water was so, and the sun had come in the pool. It was great.
Oh, it was just beautiful. And the ducks only discovered the pool the last couple weeks we were there. Once these funny ducks, this couple...
You were thrilled when they first showed up.
It was just so funny. They just flew in over my head and landed in the pool, and then they swam. It was hilarious. But then they started pooping in the pool and at the side of the pool, and then they were coming back every single day.
Yeah, you would run out and chase them away.
That's why people have covered pools, I guess.
Yeah. And Sophie did not get eaten by an alligator or there was some bad toad you were worried about.
There was a big toad that if she licked it, it would kill her. Yeah, and even that Charles LaBeouf said even the small little frogs and stuff that we saw, those they secreted something. He said, do not let her mess around with toads.
And there were rays that I could have stepped on if I...
In April, the rays come out, so
they
we
sting
left.
You.
Yeah, they have a barb that if it gets in you, you need to seek immediate attention, which we didn't know anything about that.
No.
So, yeah.
Red tide was the downside. That was back in December, I think. We had a week or two of really bad red tide.
Weeks of it,
algae that gets in the water. They call it a bloom, and then it kills a lot of fish, so you have lots of dead fish on the shore.
Stinks.
It's really nasty.
Turns everything red.
But you kind of forget about it once it's gone.
It took a while.
Yeah.
It took a while. Yeah. Yeah, and it bothers your breathing.
Yeah.
So it's not
it's
just...
like you have the flu.
It's like you're getting a cold, yeah.
COVID.
Yeah, I think people got it confused with COVID. Anyway, and that's going to probably happen.
And we're going to get our shots Monday after we get back.
Yahoo!
That's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm so grateful.
The Heinz Auditorium, that's going to be a mob scene, but I'm sure it's going to be well organized.
I have just been waiting for the shot for the longest time. I just can't believe we're finally going to get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to December when we come back, but there's a lot of good stuff between now and then.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mind going back in November. We'll see.
Yeah, we left, I think, on November 14th. I was listening to the recording. We were sitting in the car at 9:30. We'd planned to get on the road by 8, but it was 9:30. We had to leave the Instant Pot and all this stuff. So little did we know what we were getting into.
So now we're getting a bigger car so we can put more stuff in.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to get the Model Y so that we can haul more stuff to Maine and to Florida.
We took careful notes of the things that we need for next year, and I think that was really smart. In terms of clothes, you don't need much, and a few utensils for the kitchen, but we've got it kind of figured out.
Yeah.
And of course, Deb had us put it all in a file folder and have it all organized so we can find it. And
Sophie, do you have anything to add on your memories of the island? She liked to lie in the sun on the lanai. That was kind of fun.
She is such a Florida girl.
She's a sun dog.
She is such a Florida girl. Yeah, I think she really liked that. And I found, it's really nice to have such a small dog because the lanai was on what would be the second floor because people don't use the first floor in their houses. They just have the pools and garage and underground space.
Yep.
So she never was really by the pool. She was up on the lanai looking down over the pool and stuff. That was perfect for her. Yeah. That's all the space she needed.
Right.
And we would take her for walks, but in terms of having a space which would have been sort of like her yard, that was it. And that worked out great, where if you had a Great Dane or a larger dog, I don't know what you would do.
Yeah.
You don't really need to leave dogs unattended because of the toads and all the other stuff that could get them. Snakes.
You avoided any coyotes. No coyotes.
Alligators. All of it.
You're a good travel companion.
I hope we go many, many years.
Me too.
But if not, I'm really grateful for the one we had.
That's our way to see it. Exactly. Nope. Cue the birds. I wonder if he's been in Sanibel and he's flying north.
Could
like
be.
Us. We're the snowbirds.
I'm noticing this beautiful tree is starting to leaf out.
Yeah, you can see the buds coming out here as we come up through Virginia and the Carolinas. Really pretty. And we'll take Tess and get her charged up, come back. I'll put the show up and get a good night's sleep.
That's it for this week. My guest next week will be Kevin Kelly, co-founder of Wired Magazine, and he has a very unusual and personal publishing project that he reached out to me and some other podcasters saying that he'd love to talk about it with our listeners. So I jumped at the opportunity, and that'll be the week from today that you'll hear Kevin Kelly talking about that project. I don't think I'm going to gather a room at Clubhouse tomorrow. We'll probably be at our hotel, but we've got a pretty good drive, and we're going to be either going through or around Washington, D.C. So I think to put that on the calendar at 4 p.m. tomorrow Eastern Time would be, I don't think it would be appreciated by my traveling partner. So I'll take tomorrow off from the Clubhouse post-podcast gatherings and hope to resume it a week from tomorrow on Saturday. And I think that's everything. I'll put a few links in the show notes to some of the Sanibel places that we discuss, and it's been a wonderful 4 months. I was mainly asking Deb and Darlene questions in those conversations, and what I will say is that something about the character of the island and the community and the history of it and the dominance of the nature in it, as we learned from the conversation with the city manager, Judy Zamamra, just seemed to kind of get into me. And I don't know if I slowed down. I think I made some progress in not spending so much time online. I won't make any big claims for new habits that came out of this unique opportunity to spend 4 months on Sanibel Island, but I'm pretty sure they're real, and it's probable that I will be detecting them or perceiving them, especially the ones that really did make any changes in my life, perhaps a month or two from now or sometime later. It makes me think of my friend Kes Woodward, who I think he's told me that sometimes when he's at a place and he's taking notes and he's just observing a natural setting, he doesn't end up painting it until he gets back home. And I think there's something about the effect that Sanibel had on me that I'm not really going to be understanding or claiming, perhaps, until after we spend a couple of months in Cambridge and then head on up to Ocean Park for the summer. But I share Darlene's gratitude and Deb's gratitude, and it was, in some ways, a very blessed time for us in so much sun. Just to spend a winter that warm and having that much sun is something close to magical. I'll agree with Darlene in using that word. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about Sanibel from time to time on the podcast, and we'll return to the more normal fare next week. And I've also got, I think, a couple of author interviews coming up, and we have some exciting people to talk to in the coming weeks. Thanks a lot for joining me, and I appreciate your taking the time to listen to my show. This is Len Edgerly for the Kindle Chronicles in Richmond, Virginia.